What is up, party people and Duelyst people? This is your boy JuveyD coming at you with that ballin' on a budget deck list. So the reason I'm making this video is after my first two videos, I got a lot of really great reception from y'all telling me you like the editing, you like the channel, you like the direction, but my initial top 5 deck list was a little expensive to say the least, and I do apologize. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a top 6 deck list, including every single faction, ranking them in the order of what I see people winning the most with in bronze and silver, and then my own experiences of decks that are below 1,500 spirits that pretty much anybody can make in no time at all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that deck list. Okay, so coming in at 6th is Magmar. I would suggest that you use Starhorn just because then you don't have to build a drawing mechanic into this deck. You already have it in your Bloodborne ability. I think Rebirth gets great value and it can bait out spells, so it's a great faction ability, especially if you're working on a budget. He has really great removal that doesn't require ultra rare cards. He has Plasma Storm, Egg Morph, and Natural Selection, so that's a great way to clear the board for yourself. And then his rush minions between Saber Spine Tiger and then the Elucidator are both very strong cards for doing a lot of damage really fast. He only has one provoke. I think he lacks versatility in this particular deck. The mana curve is kind of all over the place, and he doesn't have a lot of late game threat. Still, if you have the cards, I think this is a perfectly viable deck for climbing up the ladder early on. So coming in at 5th is Vitruvian, and I actually think this deck is a lot of fun. It costs less than 1,000 spirit to craft, assuming you don't already have any of the cards. Second Wish and pretty much any minion is a lot of fun to play with because the enemy general just can't do damage to it. It's got hard removal, and then the range damage is insane in this deck with 2 blast units and then Jaxi on top of that. The only problem is it's really weak to dispel. If you dispel the range or blast or any of the buffs, then you lose a lot of your value. And provoke can really hurt you because you're kind of like a glass cannon, so if you're going against like a Lionard, you might struggle. And then there's no base attack above 4 on any of these cards, so it can be seen as kind of a weak deck, but I've seen it win plenty of games and I think it's perfectly viable. Okay, so I was cutting it really close with Songhai's deck, and that's just because I feel like he needs the couple extra rares to really make this deck work. I think Backstab is awesome, and against newer players, a lot of time you can take them off guard with it, especially with his new Bloodborne spell. There's lots of different ways to control the board because you have so many spells, you have ranged units with those Heartseekers and Jaxi, and there's just a lot of spells to work with. Like I said, it is a little bit more expensive than the other decks that I have listed in this guide. It also plays like a glass cannon, just like Vitruvian. There's almost no draw built into it, so you may want to revise the deck a little bit to have that. And it is somewhat easy to play around if you know what you're doing to avoid the backstab. Okay, so on my last video, I got a lot of crap because I didn't include Lilith on the top 5 list. So here she is at number 3 on the budget deck list, and I do apologize she wasn't on the last list. But I think Lilith is amazing when constructing a budget deck because you can get a lot of really strong and cheap faction cards from her, and then Swarm just works really well because you buff it with Soul Shatter Pact, and you can do 15 or more damage in a single turn and take your opponent off guard. That being said, she does feel a little combo reliant, especially with Soul Shatter Pact being the main way for you to close games. It's really helpful for you to draw that card. You can win without it, but it's difficult. And then her units are a bit weak at their base value, but still, this deck wins a lot of games in bronze and silver. Vanner comes in at 2nd place again. Now I know that I cut it pretty close with my 1.5k budget on this one, but I promise you that it is absolutely worth it. Vannar's buffs are insane when you're talking about budget decks, because you can take relatively weak cards and make them incredibly strong. She has a decent amount of removal with her spells, although they are somewhat limited, and she just feels strong at every point of the game. Plus, I just think it's fun to keep buffing all of your minions in your hand with +1/+1. It is pretty expensive, I do admit that, and it could get kited by ranged units by somebody like Songhai, and then AoE Dispel can be annoying because it just gets rid of all those buffs from your Bloodborne spell. But still, I feel like this deck is super strong, and I see it winning a lot of games. And last but not least is someone who wasn't even on the original top 5 list, Lionard. I love Lionar as a budget deck, and here's why. First of all, he's hella cheap, only 980 spirit to construct this deck. You have so much Provoke, and I just feel like Provoke is hard to deal with when you're constructing a budget deck, when you're in Bronze and Silver. He's easy to enhance as you unlock cards like Holy Immolation and his ultra rare and other legendary cards, and his buffs are godlike, especially with his Bloodborne spell. Range kind of hurts him, sort of. Dispel can kind of ruin his day, and removal is a bit inconsistent, but other than that, this is an amazing deck. Thank you so much for checking out my Ballin' on a Budget list. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you did. Give me some feedback in the comments section. Of course, you can give me a dislike if you didn't like the video. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with my content. And look at this sick outro display. Now I have my social media, so follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch. I don't have the channel set up yet, but I promise I will soon. And then you can also follow me on Snapchat and Instagram if you want to see pictures of me and know what I look like. Cool. Thank you so much for checking out my content, and I hope you enjoyed your time here. See you again next time.